let's now look at the fate of the 499 students who have been refused admission into the Ghana School of Law despite attaining a 50% threshold. Now, we know that Parliament ordered GLC to admit the students, but the AG makes a strong case that Parliament lacks the legal powers to compel the General Legal Counsel to admit the 499 candidates. The big question now remains, what happens to these students? President of the National Association of Law Students, Hassan Asari, has joined me for this discussion. Hassan, thanks so much for your time. I mean, how does this affect your case in court? I'm sure you've been following what has been happening. Parliament orders GLC and threatens to hold AG to respond if GLC fails to do so. AG says Parliament lacks the power to actually do that. How does all of this affect your case in court?
Thank you for the opportunity. And let me say good evening to your viewers. The case in court is still in court. Nothing has really happened to it. And even in the face of the resolution, we said we were still going to hold it or leave it there until there is an outcome of some sort to actually compel us to possibly take it out of court. But it's a bit worrisome with the back and forth, which we are not so interested in. The interest is to ensure that the 499 students who qualified as per the rule are admitted. So yes, it was welcoming to hear Parliament speak, which was very applaudable. And then it was a bit damping to hear the reaction of the AG. Now, I said damping because we've written or petitioned them through the 499, nothing happened. We did same, even with the GLC, nothing has happened. But when Parliament decided to take a positive action on our petition to them, then there is a reaction. Yes, I understand that Parliament may not have the power to directly instruct the GLC as it's being speculated, but these are the people or the organization or the group of people who represent the people. So let me put it this way. Parliament are a representation of the people. The people said they want some change when it comes to legal education. Parliament also looked at the issue of the 499 and realized that there was credibility in the issue, and therefore decided to speak for the people. I am not so much interested in whether or not they have the right. I know it's a non-binding resolution, but they have the right to speak to the issue, which they did. But let's look at it this way. Whether they have the right to instruct or not, it is irrelevant here. The issue is that did the 499 qualify? And do they have to go to school? I think that is where our focus should be, and ensure that these kids or these students are given the chance to be admitted and go to school. School started yesterday, and we are still going back about playing with power, which in my opinion is unnecessary. So let's focus on the issues, make sure they go to school, and that is what we are pushing for. But as for the
in that statement, the AG in that statement actually explained that there was nowhere that the GLC promised that when you get 50% and above, you will be admitted. That's what the AG says.
Let me explain that to you. I think it's a red herring. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. But let me show you something. As it stands right now, in 2021, the minimum student, the 790 they claim passed, the minimum any of them had was 50. So by their own course of dealing, it means that it is 50. So even that is not an argument to even raise. Whether or not you didn't write it, you said minimum threshold mark. The mark is 50. By your own action, we know it's 50. So I don't think we should even be focusing on that 50 mark, because by their own action, they said it's 50. So it's guaranteed. End of story. Okay. What we are talking about is the rule that has been changed. So they should look at it, because they didn't tell us that you have to get 50% on every part A and part B. That is the issue that we are trying to deal with. So the 50 itself has never come out in our discussion, because by their own action, they admit that it's 50. So I don't know why it's even bringing it up here. Okay.
Well, the General Legal Counsel says it's considering, allowing the faculties to run the professional course. How does this come across to you?
I need to be careful here, but we wrote to them when this 499 issue happened. They didn't say a word. Al Jazeera went to speak to them. They did not say a word. As until yesterday, after the AG spoke, they did not say a word. Why do we have to trust them now? And indeed, this is only coming up after the private member bill is passed, which indirectly is going to weaken them or restructure things. So for you to be speaking now, is it trying to dilute the strength of parliament or the mindset to ensure that change comes and it comes right in time? I don't know, but I cannot trust just those words because, and indeed, he said 5 faculties being discussed, for how long and when. We need some definite answers to these issues. In that, for now, it's a bit speculating. If you are saying you are discussing till when? We need the 499 to be admitted. That is number one. Number two, we don't even know who you are discussing with. He talked about the head of faculties, but for how long has this been going on? And when are we going to see that this is actually happening as per the provisions? Remember, it's something that we've been calling for all this while, and nothing is happening. And indeed, if the problem is that the 499, as per the president's statement, cannot go to school just because they don't have space, then it's of a concern. And that is why we think this must happen and happen immediately. I think it's a way to actually silence or try and change the position of parliament. But I think parliament must go on with what it has to do. Because in the end, it will actually factor what he's talking about in the PMB, in my opinion. Hassan
Asari, I'm grateful for your time and wish you well on November 9 when you appear in court on that matter.